Welcome to the Late Night Show. As always, I'm your host, Rashad Pratt, and tonight we're here to talk about one of the most horrific engineering disasters in human history, the Hindenburg. In May of 1937, the largest airship in human history crashed, killing 1/3 of its passengers. The Hindenburg proceeded to land in Lakehurst Airfield when at 7:25 p.m., the first flame became visible at the top of the hull. Within seconds, the Zeppelin was engulfed in flames and reduced to its crumbling metal framework. Here to inform us on the tragedy is distinguished aerospace engineer Paul Schoening.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
It's nice to have you. You've been making quite a name for yourself recently, and it's to my knowledge that you were one of the top engineers in your field. Can you explain to us what it's like being an aerospace engineer?
Well, you see, Rashad, there's a lot that we aerospace engineers have to do. So typically, we'll design aircraft, spacecrafts, missiles, and satellites, and we'll evaluate products to see if they meet consumer demands, environmental concerns, and engineering ethics concerns. And we'll also investigate faulty or broken products to see if we can find the source of the problems or see if we can find any solutions.
It's very interesting. So, let's say I want to be an aerospace engineer. What steps would I have to take to achieve that job?
Well, that's a great question, Rashad, and it kind of varies. So if you want an entry-level job, then you need a bachelor's degree in any kind of in aerospace engineering or in any kind of related engineering class or science. So if you wish to receive a professional engineering license, then you need to go through ABET engineering courses, and you need passing grades on the fundamentals of engineering exam, and you need at least 4 years of work training.
Interesting. It's really something, Mr. Schoening. Can't imagine all the hard work you must put into your field. Now that I understand what it is you do, I'd really like your insight into this horrible disaster that was the Hindenburg. I understand that you've done extensive research on this topic. So please, enlighten all of us. What caused the world's biggest airship to burst up in flames in mere seconds?
Well, basically what caused the explosion is that there was an electrostatic discharge that when the Hindenburg had a leak of hydrogen and it came into contact with the air, the discharge caused the Hindenburg to explode and flames to destroy the Hindenburg into a mere scrap of metal. And they're not, so we agree on that, but not everyone agrees on what caused that electric discharge. But most of us agree that there was a difference in the electromagnetivity between the Hindenburg and the air surrounding it, and because the Hindenburg was at the Lakehurst airfield when this happened, the metal framework was attached to the ground by the landing ropes, but the Hindenburg was in contact with the air around it, and so the difference between those two electromagnetic fields caused the discharge to happen.
I see. So then why did the ship burn up so fast?
Well, you see, Rashad, the Hindenburg was filled with hydrogen, which is a highly flammable gas, and when the gas came into contact with the air and electromagnetic discharge happened, that caused it to just combust with all the hydrogen, and the flames went everywhere.
Interesting. So then, why use hydrogen to begin with? There surely must have been an alternative gas, and there definitely must have been doubts when using such a flammable gas to begin with.
Well, yes, when they first started constructing the Hindenburg, it was originally intended to be used with helium, but the Helium Control Act of 1927 in the United States prohibited the export of helium to foreign countries. So, and this was built in Germany, so they couldn't use helium because they didn't have access to it, and they didn't want to make their own. So there weren't a whole lot of options for them, so they decided to use hydrogen.
So let's look at the construction from a moral standpoint. Do you feel like there were violations of the engineering code of ethics?
I think they were a great violation of the engineering code of ethics because although the Zeppelin company who created this Hindenburg, they went through the process of creating gas cells for the hydrogen to escape to and the exhaust vaults. They knew what would happen, how explosive hydrogen was to use, and they knew the safety concerns, but they decided to disregard them because they wanted to get the Hindenburg out in time for the 1936 Berlin Olympics, and They didn't want to have to manufacture their own helium because that would be too expensive.
I see. So, do you think this entire disaster could have been avoided if they just stuck with the helium plants instead of switching to hydrogen?
Yes, I do believe that this entire disaster could have been avoided because although they didn't have access to the helium from the United States that they wanted to get it from, they could have made it themselves, and if they were unable to manufacture it in their own country, then they should have just stopped it altogether, because using hydrogen in the Hindenburg was way too dangerous, and it didn't offer any protection if something like the electromagnetic field discharge happened, which it did, and it was way too dangerous.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Schoening. I've gained a lot of insight from this.
And it's falling on the morning fast, and all the folks between it. This is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world. Oh, it's like 400 or 500 feet into the sky, and it's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. The smoke and the flames now, and the flame is crashing to the ground, not quite to the mooring mast. Oh, the humanity.